The Christmas happening, which I just happened to stumble into Laguna at exactly the right time for it, was just an extraordinary kind of spontaneous event that drew about 20 to 25,000 kids to congregate out in the Sycamore Hills region, or Sycamore Flats as it was known, of Laguna Canyon Road for Christmas of 1970. Okay, after going through the archives, which is like an archaeological dig, finding slides and negatives in a photography studio is like looking for the purloined letter. But I did run across a fair number of images from the happening of 1970, which is now 32 years ago. And here are a few of the choice ones from the color slides. Nice overview of the canyon. That I think you can, maybe your camera can pick that up. You can see the basin of Sycamore Flats, as it's sometimes known, Sycamore Hills, which is now the site of the Dilley Preserve, which is open space these days. At that time it was, of course, private property. And some shots of people hanging out in the sycamore trees, looking at the bandstand, and some of the crowd that's there, the campsites that were there, the buses, motorcycles, and horses that people rode in on. And of course they all had to get out of town, ultimately, so there's your hitchhiker. Well, I have some very good memories and some very bad memories. The good memories are when we first went out there. I mean, it really was, the promise of peace and love, and everybody was sharing some good things. They were sharing some not so good things. Drugs were abundant, marijuana smell was everywhere, but not everybody was imbibing. But whatever you had, you shared with whomever needed it. And that was kind of cool. There's one of the relief tent. And when you consider you have 20,000 people out there, and it's a lot of possibility for people getting sick, and of course there was a fair amount of ODing going on, not overdosing to the point of anybody getting, deathly ill, but certainly needing some help. When the authorities decided that they'd had enough, and when the city fathers decided they'd had enough, and Ronald Reagan decided he'd had enough, it got pretty nasty. When I went out after they had decided that they were going to close it down, they used military-type maneuvers to seal off the canyon and then to bring people in, and they actually flushed people out they drove people down towards the ocean, they drove them out El Toro Road, and they drove them out Laguna Canyon. And that kind of spooked me because there were all of these police that were called in from all over Orange County. There was a tank up at the high school. So it was a really very interesting thing. But like I said, my recollections and my sensations at the time were kind of clouded by my own experiences. And you have to remember too that 1970 was when Kent State occurred. And we'd seen the consequences of, the student population going up against the National Guard, and that was fresh in everybody's mind. And I was really concerned that somebody was going to get killed over this thing. This is a shot through the window of a building that was a restaurant down where the Cycle Works is right now on Thalia Street. And after the police clamped down on things, kids were scattered every which direction and needed a place to flop, and food and a little bit of assistance. And there was quite a group in the community who helped get them out of town, and so that they wouldn't be arrested or whatever might happen to them. That's a shot of the string of buses that were lined up on Broadway and Laguna Canyon Road, right across from the festival grounds, that were used to cart people out. I also went out afterwards, in the aftermath, and photographed the city sending bulldozers out there to just make a big ditch They put all of the possessions and the stage and everything else into that trench and lit it on fire, and that seemed in some regards to be kind of the end of an era.